Guys, let's read the next chapter of your Hornbill book. This is a poem. It's called A Photograph and it's by Shirley Tolson. Now, what is the first thing that comes into our mind whenever we look at a photograph? Okay, whenever we come across photographs, definitely this are memories. The memories are being enclosed in each and every photographs that we have in our photo album, cell phones, wherever, etc., etc. But any photos that you see or come across whenever in a leisure time you scroll your phone and then you once pick up one photo, it definitely comes into your mind whatever good memories, whatever happy memories you had at that time, and you were whatever place you were, whomever you were with, wherever you were, whatever situation was there, but you were so happy and you was all smiling and clicked a photo, and each and every memories come running into your mind, one after another, like as if you are reminiscing your past, you are looking back to into your past. Okay, so here also in this poem we will see what are the memories that are evoked in the mind of the poetess as soon as she looks into a photograph. Okay, so let's proceed with the poem and let's see what we come across. Okay, so the name of the poet is Shirley Tolson. She was born on 20th May 1924, Henley on Thames, United Kingdom. She had died on 15th May 2014. Her education was from BA Literature. She had a degree in BA Literature from Brockenhurst College in London. And her books consist of The Drovers, The Celtic Year, a celebration of Celtic Christian saint sites and festivals more. Okay, so and this is one photograph of the poet that has been attached over here for your reference. So this is all about the poetess, whatever she was, how, where she was born, where she died, in which year she died, when she was born, and even the books that she had been famous for, whatever education she had received throughout her life, etc., etc. Everything is being mentioned over here in a gist. Okay, so let's move on to the poem now. The cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands, and she the big girl some 12 years or so. So these are the first four lines of the poem, A Photograph. Now please, I would request all of you to kindly open the book right in front of you as we progress through this video, because you will here I'll be sharing with you some annotations, word meanings, the difficult word meanings, even the literary devices that are being included inside this poem, and I would ask you to go and write it down in your book or either your copy, but you should have the book in front of you whenever you are looking at this watching this video. Okay, so the cardboard shows me how it was. Now what does the word cardboard means here? The cardboard means the photograph that the poetess is looking at right now is what she means by the word the cardboard. The cardboard shows me how it was means when she looks at the cardboard, every memory that whatever memory this photograph hold, it comes running into her mind. Maybe she was there, we don't know right now, maybe she had heard whatever stories about this photograph, that also came running into her mind. Okay, when the two girl cousins went paddling. Now what is paddling? Paddling means walking with bare feet in shallow water. Okay, walking with bare feet in shallow water, each one holding one of my mother's hands, and she, the big girl, some 12 years or so. Here, the word she, the big girl, means the poetess's mother is here being described as the big girl. Okay, and some 12 years or so means the poetess's mother is around 12 years of age. So, what we come to see about this photograph, the photograph contains of her mother of the poetess, and she is being accompanied by two cousins of her, two girl cousins of the poetess's mother. Each one of them were holding their hand, like I've given you a reference photograph. Each one of them were holding each other's hands, and they went paddling. Paddling means walking with bare feet in shallow water. They had gone for a sea holiday and they were enjoying themselves walking with bare feet on the shallow water of the seaside. And she, the big girl over here is referred to the poetess mother, some 12 years or so. So from this very line we come to know what is the age of the poetess mother when she had gone to the beach to enjoy with her cousins. Her age was approximately 12 years. Okay, let's move on to the next part. All three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera, a sweet face, my mother's, that was before I was born, and the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. Now, all of them, all three of them stood still to smile through their hair. All of them stood still to smile through their hair. That means all of them were their hair was all wet. They had this fun time in the water near the sea beach, along the shallow water of the sea. And then they are doing what? They are then standing for a photograph to be taken by the uncle of these three girls, who was pointing towards them with the camera, was taking a picture, and all three of them took a very beautiful picture. And this picture is the one which is being perceived right now by the poetess as she writes the poem. A sweet face, my mother's, that was before I was born. Now, here, looking at the photograph, the poetess says that my mother was so sweet when she was this 12 years of age. This was all before I was born. Okay. And the sea, which appears to have changed less. Now, and the sea which appears to have changed less. Here, the sea have not here a comparison has been drawn between the sea and the poetess's mother. The sea which had been there is looking similar like it used to be when the mother of the poetess was 12 years of age, and still today the sea looks the same in comparison to the poetess's mother, who was 12 years old when she visited the sea, and they had this wonderful sea holiday where she went paddling with two of her cousins, and they had this photograph clicked. But now her mother have turned old. She is no longer the 12 years old girl. And see the last line, wash their terribly transient feet. Now this is a very important line. The terribly transient feet means lasting only for a very short time or permanent. Terribly transient means lasting only for a very short time or impermanent. Now here a comparison has been drawn between the poetess's mother or the human life and the life of the sea. The sea had been there, its existence had been there since eternity. It has been the same since it came into existence. It has not changed at all. Whatever the sea looked like when it came into existence, it looks same right now. It will look same year after year, but it is not so for human being. Our life is transient, our life is impermanent, our life is for a very short time. We change throughout our life. First we have this youth, then first we have this childhood, then the youth, then the old age, and at the last death takes over us. So here a comparison has been drawn between the sea and the human life, where human life is said to be impermanent in contrast of the sea. Okay, now let's move on to the next part. Some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. See Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed up us for the beach. This sea holiday was a past, mine is a laughter, both wry with labored ease of loss. Now, definitely, when you have been when you have been children, you were being dressed up by your parents in some peculiar manner. When you grew up and you started growing up, you had your own sense of liking the way you want to dress up. You have accustomed your own sense of fashion. Now you will remember, if you too look at your old photographs when you were very young or right after the birth, maybe 1 or 2 year old, then you will find that you are being dressed up in some funny clothes that you don't want ever to wear this kind of things again. Okay, and you would really feel embarrassed to share it with anyone because you feel that you looks very stupid in this photographs, being so funny and oddly dressed by your parents. So the same is about the poet's mother and two of her cousins. When they used to meet 20 or 30 years later of this incidents of the sea holiday, what they used to do, they used to laugh at the snapshot. Now what is the meaning of the snapshot? Snapshot means the photograph. Here, snapshot means nothing but the photograph. See Betty. Betty is the name of the poet's mother cousin. Now, one of the cousin of the poet's mother's name is Betty. You remember we have already studied earlier that she had went paddling with two of her cousins. Now, one of the cousin of the poet's mother is Betty, and Dolly. The next cousin's name is Dolly, and they used to gather around when they were 20 or 30 years later. When they used to meet each other, they used to laugh over how they were dressed by their parents when they had gone holidaying at the sea beach. And look how they dressed us for the beach. The sea holiday was her past. Now, here the poetess says that the sea holiday was the best memory that the poet's mother had hold into her mind. For the mother, the holiday at the beach was her best or favorite memory that she had always cherished in her bosom. And mine is her laughter. That means for the poet, her mother's smiling face, her laughter, her enjoyment, whatever relation, whatever loving, affectionate relationship they had shared with each other when her mother was alive, when her mother was there, uh, it was the best memory. From this line onward, we come to understand the poetess mother is no longer here. She has passed away. And that is why the poetess is reminiscing, looking at the photograph. She is looking at the photograph of her mother when she was 12 years of age, when they had gone paddling along with their two of her cousins and their uncle. And they had clicked a very beautiful photograph standing at the sea beach. And the poet remembers, she feels nostalgic about how her mother used to look so beautiful. And then uh, she also remembers how her mother and two of her mother's cousin used to laugh looking at the photograph at their leisure time when they used to come and visit the poet's mother. And they would say that they were so funnily or oddly dressed in this photograph, and it was the best memory, the poetess say, that the poetess mother hold in her mind. But for her, her best memory is every time she had spent with her mother, her smiling, her laughing, everything she misses, and these are her best memory. Both rye with leeward ease of loss. Rye means, here the word rye means disappointed. Both rye, both here means both the mother and daughter, both are disappointed with labored ease of loss. Here, the word liberties of loss means both the poet and her mother are struggling, trying to cope up with whatever loss they have felt in their life, but ultimately they have to accept it. Now, definitely, the poet's mother is no longer here. That is why the poet misses her so much. She could no longer meet her mother, she could no longer see her. She misses her smiling face, her laughing reflection, everything. And the poetess mother, when she used to look at this photograph, she used to tell that she misses those days, when she misses those days, and particularly that day when she had gone to the beach for a sea holiday with two of her cousins and her uncle. So for both the women, they are trying to cope up with the loss they have perceived in their life, they have got in their life, but still they are trying to accept it one way or other. Okay. Now she has been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived, and of these circumstances there is nothing to say at all. It's silence, silences. Now I've already told you in our last few lines, we have already come to understood that the poet's mother is no longer here, she had passed away. And here the poet says that she had been dead nearly as many years as that girl lives, meaning she had been dead for almost 12 years. Okay, when her mother was 12-year-old, approximately 12-year-old, she had taken that photograph standing on the sea beach along with two of her cousins, Betty and Dolly. And right now the poet says that she had died almost 12 years. Okay, and of these circumstances, there is nothing to say at all. The poetess does not want to speak about her mother's death because it evokes pain in her ear. In the line, there is nothing to say at all, she says that the poetess does not want to speak about her mother's death because it evokes pain in her. She does not want to remember that her mother is dead. She just wants to remember her smiling face, her laughing reflection, her laughing reflection, whatever she had hold in her mind, whatever beautiful things she had hold in her mind, how pretty her mother used to look, whatever relationship, whatever affection they have with each other, all these things she wants to remember, but does not wants to remember the death of her mother because it instincts agony in her mind, and she misses her mother so much. It evokes pain in her mind. Okay, it's silences. Now this is a very important line. You will have lot of questions over here. It means, the phenomena of death is already a silent affair, and when death already happens, it brings silence along with it. Whatever uh, Whoever the person who is dying, he is silenced forever. You could not hear his voice, you could not see him again. So the phenomena of death, which is painful, I mean, this is very common. You will see, if you have ever encountered death right in front of you, inside your family, among your relatives or family members, you will know that at the moment someone dies in your home, you cannot speak properly. You are silenced by this sudden blow of grief that overtakes you. Okay, and the person who dies is definitely being silenced by death. Here, the losses suffered by the poet on her mother's death is denoted by this line, as she says, "Its silence silences." Okay, here the word means because her mother is mother is dead already, and she could no longer hear her mother's voice, hear her laughing. Cannot hear her laughter. She can see her smiling face. Everything death have silenced in her life. Okay, and she is being silenced herself when death overtook her mother, and this is how she denotes her loss. This is how she denotes her pain, her suffering that she has felt when she lost her mother. So this is the end of the poem. The poem is all about a mother daughter relationship, and as I told you, a memory has been evoked when the poetess looked into the photograph of her mother when she was 12 years old, and whatever beautiful time they had spent. She says that her favorite memory is of her mother's smiling face and laughter reflection, and for the mother it was that sea holiday that she had spent with Betty and Dolly, two of her cousins, and how these two women accepts their loss, whatever loss they have felt in their life, how they accepted it, how they have started living without each other, how they have whatever they have got, whatever they have acquired with lot of difficulty, were taken away from them so easily by death. Everything is here being denoted by the poet, and this poem is mainly it's written in a sad and pensive mood when the poetess looks into her mother's photograph, and she is being nostalgic at the same time when she looks into it. Okay, so now let's move on to the central idea of the poem. Shirley Toulson's poem, A Photograph, is a tribute to her mother. As I told you already, it's a tribute to her mother. The poem describes three stages in the passage of time. There are three stages being described. In the first stage, the photograph shows the poet's mother standing at the beach enjoying her holiday with her two girl cousins. She was around 12 years old at that time. So this poem has three phases. If you look through the poem, you will see these are being divided into, categorized into three phases. First is the reflection of the poet's mother in that photograph along with her two cousins of the day when they had went holidaying into the sea beach, and she was 12 years old at that time. The second stage takes us 20 or 30 years later when the mother and her two cousins who are now young women or middle-aged woman would laugh looking at the reflection of each other into that in that photograph, and they would mock upon each other like how funnily and oddly they were dressed when they went paddling that day along with each other while holidaying in the sea beach. In the third stage, the poet remembers the dead mother with a heavy heart. The photograph revives a nostalgic feeling in the poet. As I told you earlier, this photograph revives a nostalgic feeling. She has been taken away over by nostalgia, and she is all sad and in a pensive mood while she writes this poem. She remembers everything about her mother. All of a sudden, all the memories come running into her, and it seems like she has been overtaken by them. And this is the central idea of the poem. So I hope you understood that this poem has been divided into three parts, and whatever three parts are there, it's been categorized for here for you people. Okay, now next, quickly let's move on to the literary devices of the poem. Now let's look into the poem once again. Here we have written the poem in one paragraph. We have cut it short right here. Not short, the poem is written full here, but the fonts are made short to fit into one screen. So let's quickly look over here. Okay. The cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands, and she the big girl, some 12 years or so. Okay, now in the first very line, the word cardboard. The word cardboard over here is an allusion. Now, what is an allusion? Allusion is using an incidental mention of something either directly or by implication. Okay, for example, I am actually trying to represent one thing with the help of another. Here, the cardboard represents the photograph. As I have already told you when I was telling the word meaning of each and every words into the lines while we are discussing the paragraphs, the word cardboard is an allusion. Allusion is a reference or an incidental mention of anything which is either directly or by implication meant to be that thing. So please note it, the cardboard is an allusion. Now these literary devices are very important for you because the CBSE students, you will have these literary questions coming from these literary devices. What are the literary devices included in the poem? You will be asked in your question. Okay, so the cardboard here is an allusion. Next, see line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see here. All three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera, a sweet face, and my mother's that was before I was born, and the sea which appears to have changed lace, washed their terribly transient feet. Now all three stood still to smile. Here you see the S had been repeated consecutively in each three words. Stood still to smile. Okay, see here the three S has been repeated one after the another in this line, and look into that line, wash the terribly transient feet. See, T had been repeated thrice along with each other consecutively, washed their terribly transient feet. See, this is called an alliteration. An alliteration is nothing but the repetition of the same consonant sound for several words or more than one word with a stressed syllable in a poem. Okay, so what are they? They are a series of words that comes one after that stands one after another in a line of a poem which have the same consonant sound in the beginning. Here see, stood still to smile, S is repeated in the three consecutive words. Again, they are terribly transient feet. See, the consonant T is repeated thrice along with each other in the three words that consecutively comes one after another in the same line. Okay, now again, their terribly transient feet is a transferred epithet. A transferred epithet is nothing but a description or an adjective that refers to a character or event but is used to describe a different situation or character. Yet terribly transient feat. Here, an adjective is being used to mention. An adjective is being used to mention the changing life of a human being in contrast to that of the sea. Here, but does life have feet? But no. But here, this this adjective is being referred to in order to describe the character or the event, but it is used to describe some other situations or events. See, feet, the word feet actually comes along with human being. It is being referred to make uh, it is referred to describe human beings, but here it is being referred to describe the changing life of human being in contrast to the life of the sea. Okay, so this is what a transferred epithet. Okay, we'll go along with all these literary devices in one of the class. I'll be giving you all the literary devices. I'll be making a note. I've already given to your seniors. I'll do one for you, and then I'll send you. We will discuss it thoroughly in one class. Okay, then next, now see in this line, with the labored ease of loss. Labored ease of loss. Now here this is the oxymoron. This is called an oxymoron in the literary device. These are two opposite ideas that are joined to create an effect. Labored ease in the poem is an example of an oxymoron. Here two opposite words are used that is actually used in that actually give two opposite ideas and are used one after the other to create an to create an effect. And labored here in this poem means with great difficulty, and ease means comfortably. So see two opposite words, one is with great difficulty and one is very easily. So these two words which are in contrast, which are actually in antonyms, have been used beside each other to create an effect. This is called an oxymoron. So this is the fourth literary device that exists into this poem. The last literary device that exists into the poem is the personification. Now personification is giving human life to a non-human thing. Here the sentence, it's silence. Silence is in here. The situation of death has been given the human quality of silence, because as I already told you, death brings silence. Death is a phenomena, death is a situation, death is an event, it is not a human thing. But here the word silence brings a human quality into the event of death, and here it creates an effect of a human touch, like death is some kind of human being that silences everyone that it touches. So this line is a personification in itself. So these five are the literary devices that exist into the poem. Okay, so we have already discussed the word meanings, the line by line explanation, and about the author, the central idea of the poem. Even we have discussed the literary devices of the poem. So this brings the end of our chapter. We will move again to the next chapter, and in your next Zoom class I'll be definitely having one doubt clearing session, but I would want every one of you to please watch this video and go through it. And if you have any difficulty, please note it down in your book, and in our next Zoom class on Monday I'll be sharing with you whatever doubts you are having. Will be clearing all the doubts. Okay, so thank you so much and have a great day.